Welcome to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. I'm your host, Molly Watts. If you want to change your drinking habits and create a peaceful relationship with alcohol, you're in the right place. This podcast explores the strategies I use to overcome a lifetime of family alcohol abuse, more than 30 years of anxiety and worry about my own drinking, and what felt like an unbreakable daily drinking habit. Becoming an alcohol minimalist means removing excess alcohol from your life so it doesn't remove you from life. It means being able to take alcohol or leave it without feeling deprived. It means to live peacefully, being able to enjoy a glass of wine without feeling guilty and without needing to finish the bottle. With science on our side, we'll shatter your past patterns and eliminate your excuses. Changing your relationship with alcohol is possible. I'm here to help you do it. Let's start now. Well, hello and welcome back to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. With me, your host, Molly Watts, coming to you from, we'll go with an epic Oregon right now. It has been just literally beautiful, stunning all week long. I gotta say, though, the rain is a-coming, and it's okay. I'm sort of looking forward to this kind of first turn of colder weather, rainy weather. I'm ready to put on some pants and maybe a sweater even. I don't know. We'll see how cold it actually gets this week. But, the rain is coming this way, so they say. And I'll take it. How are you doing? Welcome to almost a more sober October. If you haven't had the opportunity to sign up yet, we are kicking it all off on this Wednesday, October 1st. If you're listening to this in real time, today is September 29th. If it's dropped, you're listening on the day that it drops. And on Wednesday, that's when October starts. I will be doing some free group coaching this month, and the first session is on Saturday, October 4th. And if you want to get involved, you need to sign up ahead of time to get that Zoom link, and the link is in the show notes. So go there or come on over to the Alcohol Minimalist Facebook group, and the link is also there. And then you can get signed up, and would love to see you and join us for a more sober October. All during October, I'm going to be kind of looking into this question of who are you without the drink? That's kind of my theme for this month that I'm going to explore. And today, this episode, I want to talk to you about when drinking is a part of your personality and really needing to rewrite that story. I think it's a great time to talk about it as we're heading into a more sober October. You may be thinking about this because if you're trying to change your relationship with alcohol, oftentimes people tell me, I'm just someone who loves wine, or beer is just a part of who I am. And it sounds lighthearted, but underneath it is a very powerful identity belief. And as we're going to explore, these identity beliefs shape our habits, and they definitely make change harder, and yet they are not permanent. And that is something that I want you to remember. Personality isn't permanent. Before we dive in, though, let's acknowledge something important. Alcohol has been woven into so many parts of our culture that it often feels less like a choice and more like a character trait. Think of the phrases you hear all the time. We talk about mommy wine culture. We talk about people being a craft beer enthusiast. We talk about cocktail connoisseurs. Of course, the party girl, the party guy, right? Gets this fun, wild, carefree, and socially kind of defined by drinking. Think about the idea of the weekend warrior and what we mean by that, because it's often a binge-focused identity, big nights out followed by recovery, a weekend warrior, and also a lightweight. We actually have the opposite side of the spectrum, right? We identify that someone that can't hold their liquor or says that, or they
They aren't able to drink too much as a lightweight, which isn't necessarily, but can be a personality trait, right? And even when we call someone a social drinker, it sounds mild, but it is often used as a badge of balance while still embedding alcohol into people's identity. So I say this all just because I want us to recognize that it isn't just how we think, but literally society and our culture that has really reinforces all the time these identities that are tied to alcohol. And they aren't just labels. They are truly identities. When we accept the labels, we reinforce the idea that drinking isn't just something we do, but it's who we are. And that's why questioning or changing it can feel so destabilizing. It's not just breaking a habit, it feels like you're breaking yourself. And if you're feeling that way right now as we head into more sober October, like you're stepping outside of who you've always been, I just want you to know that's a normal experience. You're simply beginning the process of separating you from the drink that's in your glass. And today we're going to use science, psychology, and some practical tools to help you understand how to do it. So, why do so many of us feel like drinking is a personality trait? Psychologists talk about self-schemas, mental frameworks we use to define ourselves. You might have a schema like, I'm an athlete, I'm a parent, or I'm shy. And these schemas are formed by repeated experiences and the meaning we assign to them. When it comes to alcohol, if you repeatedly experience laughter, relaxation, or bonding while drinking, your brain stores that as part of your identity, and you start to believe it. I'm fun when I drink. I'm relaxed with wine. I'm more social with beer. Over time, that schema becomes a shortcut. You don't consciously think about it, it's automatic. And because our brains love evidence that supports what we already believe, you selectively notice the moments when drinking aligns with that identity and you ignore the moments when it doesn't. That's why you remember the fun party, but not the restless sleep or the Monday morning headache. Research backs this up. A 2009 study in addictive behaviors showed that individuals with strong alcohol-related self-concepts were more likely to engage in heavy drinking. And another study from 2011 in the Journal of Studies on Alcohol and Drugs highlighted how alcohol expectancies, like believing alcohol makes you more social, directly influence both behavior and identity formation. In other words, what you expect alcohol to do and how it shapes you is it shapes how you see yourself. Here's the encouraging news, all right? Schemas are learned, not fixed, which means that they can be unlearned and rewritten. When you start something like a more sober October, you may feel an unsettling sense of loss. That nightly drink isn't just a beverage. It's part of your role as wine lover or IPA guy. And taking it away can feel like erasing part of yourself. Psychologists call this identity disruption. A 2015 article in the Journal of Substance Use and Misuse noted that recovery from alcohol isn't only about abstaining. It's about navigating the grief of losing an old self. And grief is the right word here, because even when the old identity isn't fully serving you, it was familiar. And familiarity feels safe. And safety is what the brain craves most. Hey, it's Molly, here to talk to you about Sunnyside. If you've listened to this show for any length of time, you know that Sunnyside is my number one recommendation for drinking apps that help you change your relationship with alcohol. I've been a Sunnyside partner for more than 3 years now, and one of the key reasons that I chose Sunnyside to be my app of choice is that they are really focused on continuous improvement, just like me. And for you, it is continuous improvement of the app in terms of how the customer is experiencing it. They've completely redesigned the progress tab from the ground up, which makes it easier for you to see your progress over time. They've introduced mini infographics to help you better see the big picture of drinks reduced and how dry days have added up since you joined Sunnyside. They have a dry day streak tracker now for those of you that are focused on taking a real extended break from drinking, and they intelligently surface trends in your data to highlight any positive things for you, and like a steady decrease in overall drinks over the course of time. These changes and these improvements are something that Sunnyside has continued to do ever since I started working with them. You can check it out over at sunnyside.co/Molly and get started on a 15-day free trial today. On a neurological level, identity change activates what's known as the status quo bias. The brain is energy efficient. We've talked about that many times. It prefers what it already knows because it requires less processing power. And that's why breaking away from the way I've always been feels uncomfortable, even if you know logically that it's better for you. That discomfort is your brain ringing those alarm bells that you're doing something different, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you are stepping into something unknown. So if you're feeling anxious, you're feeling awkward, or even a little sad as you rethink your drinking, you got to know this. You're experiencing something that is natural, and it is the natural friction of identity change. That friction is actually evidence that you're growing. The big question is, how do we move from drinking is who I am to drinking is something I sometimes do, or drinking is something I don't do, and drinking is just something that does not define me? Here are 4 evidence-based tools that you can use. So, number 1, see your old beliefs clearly. Research on cognitive restructuring emphasizes that change starts with awareness. And Lord knows I say that enough around here. You cannot change what you cannot see. When you catch yourself thinking, I'm fun with the drink, pause and label it. That's a thought, not a fact. Separating thought from truth reduces its power. Number 2, soothe the disruption. Identity disruption is uncomfortable, but discomfort is not danger. Remind yourself that awkwardness is just part of growth. Some researchers in identity theory describe this as a liminal space, a threshold between new and old identities. And naming that space helps you stay grounded. Number 3, separate the fact from the story. Fact, you had a glass of wine at dinner. Story, I'm the kind of person who can't relax without wine. Learning to untangle facts from the interpretations that you've layered onto them is critical. A technique called cognitive diffusion from the acceptance and commitment therapy realm can help. Simply preface the thought with, I'm noticing the thought that. For example, I'm noticing the thought that I can't have fun without drinking. This creates distance between you and the story. This is a way of metacognition, right? Being able to see our thoughts. But when you actually use that cognitive diffusion, when you actually say, I'm noticing the thought that really helps reemphasize that it is just a thought and not a fact. Number 4, shift to your future identity. Psychologists who study possible selves show that imagining a future version of yourself helps bridge the gap between who you are now and who you are becoming. Try asking, who do I want to be 6 months from now? What qualities do I want people to notice about me? Then act in ways today that align with that future identity. Every alcohol-free day becomes evidence for the new you. Here's a practical exercise. You can write a short about me paragraph without any mention of alcohol. Think about the you before you ever started drinking. Maybe back on, your kids when you were a kid, or focus on your values, your passions, your relationships, and then read it aloud. That person exists right now, and they aren't hidden in a glass, and they've been there all along, waiting for you to just lean into it, right? When you talk about yourself and about me, and don't talk about yourself as the party girl, but as somebody else who has passions and values and other things that are important to them, that's where we want to turn our attention. Where our focus goes, that's where our energy goes. So write an about me paragraph without any mention about alcohol. When you tell yourself drinking is a part of who I am, remember, it's not a fixed truth. It is just a story that you've practiced. And like any story, it can be revised. As we move through More Sober October, really notice the identity that shows up for you in your thoughts. When you hear, I'm the wine lover, I'm the fun one when I drink, really pause and ask yourself, is that really true, or is it just a habit of thought? The truth is that you don't lose yourself when you drink less. You find the parts of you that have been overshadowed. And you may discover that those parts are stronger, more joyful, and more authentic than the old version ever was. Next week, we're going to continue with this series on the other you who doesn't drink. And yes, we're really going to talk about that, this whole idea. We'll look at how the brain actually creates parallel identities and how you can nurture the one that leads to peace. If this episode resonated, I would love to hear from you. So send me a message or an email and share what part of your identity are you ready to reclaim. Until next time, my friends, choose peace, and I will see you on Thursday. Thanks for listening to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. Take something you learned from this week's episode and put it into action. Changing your drinking habits and creating a peaceful relationship with alcohol is 100% possible. You can stop worrying, stop feeling guilty about overdrinking, and become someone who desires alcohol less. I work with people in 2 different ways, and you can learn about them over at my website. Go to www.mollywatts.com/workwithme, or reach out to me directly. Shoot me an email, molly@mollywatts.com. We'll jump on a call and decide what might work best for you. This podcast is really just the beginning of our conversation. Let's keep it going. If there's one thing I know, it's that change is way easier when you stop trying to do it alone.